Mornings in Preston Hollow carried a serene hush. Elizabeth Montgomery knelt beside her rose bushes, one hand gently resting on her pregnant belly. The Texas heat was already settling in, and she brushed away the sweat glistening on her brow as she glanced up at the blazing sky. Across the neighborhood, polished SUVs glided out of their driveways, marking the graceful rhythm of another affluent day. "We'll be parents soon, John," she murmured softly. Her husband had passed in a car crash 6 months earlier, and talking to him this way had become her quiet, daily comfort. Though she had built a thriving career as a real estate agent in this exclusive community, John's death had brought her back to Dallas, closer to her roots. It was meant to be temporary, a pause for healing, but she quickly became one of the top agents in the area, trusted by Dallas's elite. From a distance, the bells of Highland Park Presbyterian chimed 8 times. With practiced ease, Elizabeth cleaned and stored her gardening tools, her mind already moving through the day's agenda. 3 showings followed by paperwork. At 8 months pregnant, her commitment to her work hadn't dimmed. "Elizabeth, still digging in the dirt at your age. Honestly, you shouldn't waste your time with such nonsense," her mother Helen called out, stepping onto the lawn in designer tennis attire. Helen, ever the socialite, carried herself like Dallas royalty. Her pearl necklace shimmered, an alleged heirloom passed down from her grandmother. "The doctor said a little fresh air and light activity is fine." "Image matters, Elizabeth. Do you know how it looks? A heavily pregnant woman getting sweaty in front of the neighbors. Think about what people in Highland Park will say." Without waiting for a response, Helen vanished into the garage, golf bag in tow. Elizabeth exhaled slowly. Living near her family again had brought proximity, but not closeness. If anything, the emotional chasm had only grown. Her sister Ashley soon emerged, perfectly styled and camera-ready. "Don't forget to tune in tonight. I'm anchoring the evening special." Ashley was a rising star at DNBC, always dressed in the latest fashion, always picture-perfect. Her newest designer handbag swung from her arm like a badge of success. Of course. "What's the segment about?" "Dallas tourism, new hotspots. I was on location myself. The ratings should be solid." Ashley was already buried in her phone, snapping selfies for her huge social media following. The likes and attention gave her all the validation she needed. When Elizabeth had revealed her pregnancy, her mother's reaction had been frosty at best. The term single mother had dropped from Helen's mouth like a slur. A stain on the Montgomery name still echoed in Elizabeth's memory. Ashley had congratulated her technically, but her eyes had remained cold. Later Elizabeth overheard her say, "Raising a kid sounds exhausting. I could never." She placed her hand protectively over her belly. Just 1 month left until the baby arrived. In her prenatal class at the hospital, other women spoke fondly of being surrounded by support, mothers attending ultrasounds, sisters assembling baby supplies. But for Elizabeth, that kind of comfort felt distant, like a story from another life. At her final checkup at Baylor Medical Center, the doctor had looked at her with concern. "Do you have anyone to help once the baby comes?" Elizabeth could only manage a faint smile. "We're going to be okay," she whispered to her unborn child. In that moment she made a silent vow. No matter how hard the road ahead, she would walk it, hand in hand with her baby. The sun blazed above, but in her garden the roses stood tall, vibrant and defiant, blooming with a strength that mirrored her own. A sharp, searing pain jolted her from sleep. Gasping, Elizabeth curled up, clutching her abdomen. Her body trembled. The glowing red digits on her nightstand read 2 a.m. 2 weeks early. But the rhythm of the pain was unmistakable. Her breathing came in short, shallow bursts. The house was silent, save for the sound of her strained exhales. Outside, the streetlights cast a soft glow over Preston Hollow's pristine lawns and gated estates. Everything looked peaceful, untouched. But inside her bedroom, panic was blooming. "Stay calm," she told herself aloud. "You've practiced for this." Fumbling for her phone, she opened the contraction timer. The intervals were narrowing. Sweat slicked her skin as another wave of pain surged. Should I call an ambulance? The thought came fast, but so did the fear. She remembered the hospital's warnings. Unless it was life-threatening, the out-of-pocket cost could be devastating. Texas ambulance fees were notoriously steep. Her eyes drifted to the framed photo of John. He smiled at her from across time, warm, steady, gone. "What do I do, love?" she asked, her voice cracking. Tears slipped down her cheeks. If John were here, she wouldn't be facing this alone. She inhaled shakily and pressed her mother's number. The phone rang. Once. Then the background burst to life with laughter, music, and clinking glass. "Hello," her mother's voice answered, slightly slurred. "Mom, I think I'm going into labor. The contractions, they've started. Can you drive me to the hospital?" Beat of silence. "Oh, Elizabeth now. It's your sister's birthday. We're in the middle of the celebration." Irritation laced Helen's voice, even as music thumped behind her. "Please, I'm scared. I don't want to do this alone." Another contraction struck, and Elizabeth bit down a cry. "Can't you call an ambulance?" "It's the middle of the night," her mother snapped. "Mom, I really need." "It's Ashley's 29th, Elizabeth. There are prominent guests here. TV execs, donors. This isn't the time." Elizabeth could hear champagne popping and someone laughing raucously. Then came the cutting words. "And honestly, this early labor. Have you even been following the doctor's advice? You push yourself too hard. This might be on you." The guilt sank in deep, as sharp as the pain that twisted through her again. But unlike her mother's coldness, this pain felt real. Raw, unfiltered, true. "Can I talk to Ashley?" Elizabeth asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Helen sighed. "Fine. But keep it quick. We're about to make a toast." Through the phone, Elizabeth heard her mother call out. Ashley's voice came on, bubbly and breathless. "Liz. It's wild here. DNBC's senior producers are here. They're already talking about giving me the national segment." Then a giggle. "Isn't that amazing?" Ashley's voice was shrill, her words laced with wine and vanity. Someone had started playing the piano in the background, adding a surreal soundtrack to the moment. "Ashley, please. I need to get to the hospital," Elizabeth pleaded, her voice trembling. "Oh my God, really? You're doing this now?" Ashley groaned. "Everyone is here for me, not your whatever moment. Today's supposed to be about me, Liz. It always is, and you know it. I'm about to give a speech, okay? The station director might announce my promotion. Just this once, don't ruin it." There was a pause, a clink of a wine glass, then the final blow. "Try not to embarrass the family tonight." The line went dead. Elizabeth sat in the silence, the phone still in her hand. Another contraction seized her, stronger now, closer. For minutes apart. Tears and sweat pooled on the screen as she stared down at it. With shaking fingers, she opened the Uber app. Late-night surge pricing was brutal, more than double the usual fare, but she had no choice. "I need to get ready," she whispered, cradling her belly. "Just a little longer, baby. Hold on for me." She forced herself upright, clutching the nightstand for balance. Her hospital bag was packed and waiting. Insurance documents, ID, clean clothes, maternity journal. Between contractions, she double-checked everything, adding last-minute items. Phone charger, some emergency cash, and the last photo of her and John. On the way to the front door, her gaze caught the framed family portrait hanging in the hallway. Her mother and Ashley smiled like porcelain dolls. Elegant, composed, adored. Elizabeth stood slightly off to the side, as if even the photograph understood she didn't quite belong. Another wave of pain crashed down, now 3 minutes apart. Bracing herself against the wall, she focused on her breathing, her damp hair sticking to her forehead. Then her phone buzzed. "Your driver will arrive in 5 minutes." One last breath. She opened the door to the quiet night. At Baylor University Medical Center, The maternity wing stirred softly as morning approached. "Miss Montgomery, we've got you," came a gentle voice. Nurse Maria Rodriguez met her at the entrance, her grip steady as she helped Elizabeth into a wheelchair the Uber driver had kindly arranged. It was a small gesture, but to Elizabeth it felt enormous. "You did the right thing by coming now," Maria said calmly. Through clenched teeth, Elizabeth managed a grateful smile. The pain hadn't stopped, but the kindness, unexpected and unwavering, was a balm. "The baby's doing great. Let's keep breathing together. In and out," Maria guided her. While Maria prepared the room, she chatted, never letting Elizabeth feel alone. "Did you reach anyone in your family?" she asked gently. "I tried," Elizabeth whispered. Maria read the truth in her eyes and nodded softly. "Then don't worry. We're your family for now." The delivery room clock ticked past 4 a.m. outside. The first strands of light began to seep into the dark horizon. Between contractions, Elizabeth found comfort in Maria's presence. The nurse's warmth wrapped around her like a blanket. "I've raised 3 kids doing this job," Maria said as she monitored the fluids and vitals. "It's tough, yeah. But strength isn't about who shows up for you. It's about what's already inside you." By 7 a.m., a fresh team rotated in. One of them, a young nurse named Sarah Johnson, stepped into the room with a soft smile. "You're almost there," she said, squeezing Elizabeth's hand. "Your baby's on their way." The contractions had reached their crescendo. Elizabeth cried out, her voice raw and hoarse. Sweat streamed down her face like rain, her hair clinging to her temples in tangled strands. Her face was bare, makeup long gone, but her will was unshaken. "Mom," she gasped. The word slipped out before she could stop it. Despite everything, in this moment of pain and vulnerability, she yearned for her mother's presence more than anything else. "You're so close," the doctor urged. "One more big push." Then, suddenly, a high, sharp cry pierced the air. "It's a girl. Perfectly healthy." At 8:17 a.m., Emma Grace Montgomery entered the world, a tiny 6-pound miracle. Tears poured down Elizabeth's cheeks as she held her daughter for the first time. Emma's cries quickly softened in her mother's arms, as if sensing that she was finally home. "Congratulations," Nurse Maria whispered, her own eyes glistening. In 2 decades of deliveries, few moments had touched her quite like this. Hours later, settled in a quiet recovery room, Elizabeth sat alone. Emma slept peacefully in the nursery. She scrolled through her phone, landing on Ashley's Instagram. A freshly posted photo caught her eye. Ashley, glass raised, grinning at a glamorous party table. Their mother stood behind her, all smiles, surrounded by Dallas's finest. The post was time-stamped 3 a.m., while Elizabeth had been groaning through labor alone. She closed the app, exhaled, and opened Facebook instead. Her fingers moved slowly as she typed. "On August 15, 2024, at 8:17 a.m., my daughter Emma Grace was born. I gave birth alone, but I wasn't truly alone. The kindness of the staff guided me through. Both of us are healthy and safe." She attached a photo, herself by the hospital window, holding Emma close, the morning light casting a soft glow. The second chair in the frame empty. Within 5 minutes, the post exploded, likes, comments, hearts. Messages of support poured in. Elizabeth turned the phone screen off. Beyond the nursery glass, she watched Emma sleep, utterly unaware of the world she'd been born into, one of privilege, pressure, and secrets. Just then, Maria stepped in. Following her was a poised woman in a tailored blazer. Jennifer Walker, the city's renowned investigative reporter. "Miss Montgomery, may I have a word?" Jennifer asked, her tone respectful but resolute. Elizabeth blinked, wary. "About what?" Jennifer sat beside her and leaned in slightly. "This isn't just about your family anymore." She pulled out her phone and opened an email. "Last night's party. It wasn't just a birthday celebration. It was a back-channel event to announce your sister's appointment as DNBC's main anchor." Elizabeth's brows drew together. Emma, now in her arms, stirred and began to fuss. A nurse quietly brought her over, and Elizabeth began nursing her, gently rocking the newborn. Jennifer hesitated before continuing. We have information suggesting the appointment wasn't earned through merit alone. According to a DNBC insider, your mother used her influence to secure the position for Ashley. Elizabeth's heartbeat thudded in her ears. But Ashley is good, she said softly. She's popular. People like her. Yes, she's talented, Jennifer admitted. But there were other candidates. One in particular, a veteran reporter with national awards, had just pitched a feature about working mothers and career balance. She opened another email and handed Elizabeth her phone. Attached were meeting notes, internal objections, executive concerns, a list of advertisers flagged. Jennifer's voice dropped. Your mother allegedly contacted major sponsors and implied that this reporter's personal life, her being a single mom, was a liability to the station's image. Elizabeth's stomach sank. Emma whimpered in her arms, as if responding to the tension in the room. And then, Jennifer added, your unmarried sister, who fits the clean family image, was pushed forward as the safer choice. Elizabeth looked away, her lips tightening. The baby nestled against her chest, unaware of the weight her mother carried. Elizabeth's hands shook slightly as she clutched Emma closer. The baby looked up at her mother with wide, questioning eyes, sensing the tension in the room. Jennifer's voice softened, but her words landed heavy. We've gathered enough. Internal communications, staff testimonies. Last night's celebration. It wasn't just a birthday party. It was the final move in a carefully orchestrated plan. Executives were courted. Sponsors were prioritized. All while you were laboring alone. Suddenly the door flew open. Elizabeth! Helen stormed into the hospital room, her usual grace gone. Her blazer hung awkwardly from one shoulder. Her mascara smudged beneath her eyes. What have you done? She hissed. Take down that post right now. Ashley stumbled in behind her, still in her cocktail dress from the night before, hair mussed, heels clacking loudly on the tile. Sis, please, she whined. You're destroying everything. Do you even realize what you've done to my life? Emma let out a startled cry. Nurse Maria rushed in. Her eyes scanned the room quickly, and her tone was firm, no longer gentle. This is a recovery room. Please lower your voices. We're her family, Helen snapped. Exactly, Maria replied coolly. Then act like it. The baby needs peace. Helen scoffed. Of course. A nurse like you wouldn't understand the complexity of family matters. Elizabeth's head jerked up. Her voice rang with quiet fury. Mother! She rose from the bed, one arm cradling her daughter. That's enough. Helen drew herself up. We were only thinking of your future. No, Elizabeth said, eyes steady. You were thinking of Ashley's future. And your own image. Jennifer stood, voice unwavering. We have the proof. Emails. Sponsor communications. Conversations from last night's event. Helen's face lost all color. Jennifer added. And audio from the executive table. The phrase "a single mother would shame the station" was used. We know exactly who said it. Ashley leaned against the wall, sliding slowly to the floor. My promotion, the director. He'll be interviewed too, Jennifer said. This story's not going away. There was a shuffle in the hallway. 2 hospital security officers stood at the door. Maria had already called them. One stepped forward politely. Ma'am, miss, I'm going to have to ask you both to leave. Helen turned, stunned. Elizabeth. You're really doing this to us? Elizabeth looked down at her daughter, then back at her mother with clarity and strength. I'm not betraying anyone, she said. I'm protecting my child. That's what mothers do. The guards ushered them out. The door shut. Silence returned. Emma had already drifted back to sleep, her tiny chest rising and falling in rhythm with her mother's heartbeat. Jennifer gave a quiet nod of admiration. That was a brave thing you did. She placed a recorder on the side table. I'd like to begin outlining the article. I believe this could become a turning point for working mothers everywhere. Sunlight spilled through the window, warm and golden. Didn't just feel like a new day. It felt like the truth, burning through every shadow. I'll help you, Elizabeth replied, her voice low but steady. It's time the world knew. Maria walked over and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. No words, just warmth, unwavering and real. Some truths hurt when they're finally spoken. But from that hurt can bloom something real, something whole. Elizabeth felt it then. Quiet kind of joy. Emma stirred and smiled in her sleep. 1 year later, laughter filled the backyard of the Preston Hollow home. Emma tottered across the lawn, taking confident first steps under the clear Texas sky. Guests clapped and cheered as she beamed with pride. She's beautiful, someone whispered. Nurse Maria smiled, setting a homemade birthday cake on the table. She had become part of the family, her bond with Elizabeth stronger than blood. It's all because of you, Elizabeth said, hugging her. Over the course of that year, everything had changed. Jennifer Walker's exposé had made national headlines. It had sparked conversations in boardrooms, studios, and households across the state. And it had won the prestigious Texas Journalism Award. Its title, Divided Families. The national conversation had shifted. Jennifer Walker's article, Divided Families, sparked widespread debate about the pressures of modern motherhood and the rigid traditions that still haunted professional women. Across the country, it struck a chord. In response, DNBC rescinded Ashley's appointment as main anchor. In her place, the station promoted the seasoned journalist who had long championed the challenges of working mothers, her authenticity resonating with viewers. Under her guidance, the network's ratings steadily climbed. Elizabeth, these are the final documents for the Preston Hollow listing. A young female agent approached her at the party, handing over a folder. Elizabeth accepted it with a warm smile. In the last year, her real estate business had flourished in unexpected ways. By focusing on homes designed for modern working families, she had tapped into a growing movement. Her listings weren't just houses, they were places where new beginnings could thrive. Thanks. The new builds are getting a lot of attention, Elizabeth said. Especially from moms looking for space, safety, and sanity. On the lawn, Emma laughed as she ran through bubbles with the other children, many of whom were daughters and sons of Elizabeth's clients. Her office, once just a boutique firm, had become something much deeper, a hub for women rebuilding their lives, and a quiet revolution of community care. Elizabeth! The voice made her turn. Her mother stood at the edge of the garden, smaller somehow, subdued. The brilliance of Dallas high society no longer clung to her. After losing her standing, Helen had retreated from public life. For Emma, she said, offering a small velvet box. Inside lay the pearl necklace passed down through their family. My life was built on appearances, Helen admitted, her voice unsteady. But you live by something much stronger. A long silence hung between them, heavy but not angry. Elizabeth turned toward the lawn. Emma, she called softly. Come meet someone. The little girl waddled over, face lit with curiosity. This is your grandmother, Elizabeth said gently. Emma paused, then extended her tiny hands. Helen knelt, and for the first time she held her granddaughter close. Oh, she whispered, voice cracking. How precious. Ashley too had changed. After being reassigned to a weekend local news show, she began pitching her own ideas. Segments highlighting working women, career flexibility, and childcare access. It wasn't redemption overnight, but it was a start. Funny, isn't it? Jennifer murmured as she joined Elizabeth near the garden. Time changes everything. Elizabeth nodded. Sometimes for the better. As the party neared its end, it was time for Emma's first birthday photo. Elizabeth crouched beside her daughter near the roses, arms wrapped around each other. The camera flashed, just as Emma leaned in and kissed her mother's cheek. Laughter and soft applause rippled through the guests. That photo would hang in Elizabeth's office. Visitors often paused before it, drawn to the joy etched into those two faces. Beside it, another frame held a photo of Emma wearing the pearl necklace, too big for her tiny neck, but radiant just the same. They were reminders of something quiet but powerful, a new kind of family, one shaped not by perfection but by truth, growth, and enduring love. As the sun dipped low over the Preston Hollow garden, Elizabeth looked up into the amber sky. "John," she whispered, "we're okay. We're happy." Emma sighed in her arms, her eyelids fluttering shut. The roses swayed gently in the evening breeze. Tomorrow another story would begin. But tonight their chapter closed with peace.